Now, the WNBA has a problem they keep treating like it's complicated, but it's not. A former NBA player showed up wearing a shirt that simply defined the word woman. He got ejected. A player on the court cussed him out in front of families and stayed in the game. Commissioners still won't say the one sentence that will end this entire conversation. And somehow, the people who usually never shut up about protecting women suddenly found their quiet voice. I want y'all to watch how this unfolds. Now, we're going to start with Charles Barkley. He don't soften the language. He said what people running the league still refuse to say out loud.
I always support the gay community. I always support the transgender community. I got none but love and respect for gay people and transgender people. But under no circumstances do I think men should play against women. Zero. I'm disappointed in Adam Silver and Kathy, the commissioner. First of all, you can't let stupid stuff go out to the internet, which is one of the worst things that ever happened to the world. They should have come out 2 weeks ago before all this, because people are looking for attention now. Just say,
including this guy.
But he has a point, though, because Kathy and Adam haven't said, hey, it's in the title, WNBA. We're not going to have transgender people in the WNBA, and we're not going to discuss it again. That's what Adam and Kathy should have done 2 or 3 weeks ago before they turn it over to the internet and every fool, idiot, and jackass to have an opinion on. Adam should come out, and Kathy. I like both of them a lot. Women can own. There's no transgender people going to play in the WNBA. If you don't like it, kick rocks. We're not going to discuss it anymore. And Enes is trying to get attention because listen, if he did all the operation things, we're not doing that either. The WNBA is for women. And listen, this is the last time we're going to discuss it. We're not going to turn it over to the fools on the internet. We're not going to turn it over to Congress and things like the WNBA is for women only, period. And we're not going to discuss it again.
Now, Barkley, he made it plain. He said he supports gay people and transgender people. He drew the line that somehow became controversial. Men should not play against women. Zero. Notice who he's frustrated with, though. I want y'all to pay attention to that, not just the internet. He's frustrated with Adam Silver and Kathy. I don't know how you say her last name. Engelbert? I know he said her name, y'all, but yeah. But he's upset with them for letting this drag out when one clear statement would have just shut it down weeks ago. I mean, at the start of it, the WNBA is for women, period. What does the W stand for? That's not hate. That's category protection. Every other sport understands this. Women's leagues exist for a reason, right? And when the people in charge act like saying that out loud is dangerous, the problem isn't the person asking the question. Nope. And of course, not everybody saw it that way. Charlamagne had a completely different take.
You've lost the plot, all right? He says he's doing all of this because he wants to protect women. Yeah, so you go into a space built around women, a league played by women, a workplace where women are doing their jobs, and you create a situation where one of the women playing basketball ends up arguing with you. And now the headline coming out of the game isn't about the women's basketball game. It's about you, Enes Kanter, freedom. Okay, how did protecting women become making yourself the main character in women's spaces? That's what I don't understand. All right, you don't protect women's spaces by walking into women's spaces and making the whole damn space about you. Okay? If you have to manufacture the crisis you're warning everybody about, okay, if your activism requires you to manufacture the very crisis you claim to be fighting against, then you're not raising awareness to a problem. You actually are the problem.
Yeah, he's stupid.
He's the problem.
Dumb. That's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like protecting a woman's space, huh? Can I go into like a bathroom? Okay, so Charlamagne's argument is that Enes himself made, himself the main character in this situation. That by showing up and creating a scene, he became the problem he claimed to be fighting. There's some truth in the optics, for sure. But look at what that framing actually does. I want y'all to pay attention to this. It turns the person pointing at an undefined rule into a villain, while the people who wrote the vague rule get to stay comfortable. I'm just saying, if the league has simply defined the word in their own collective bargaining agreement, none of this theater would exist. The refusal to define it is what keeps inviting the theater. Now, Stephen A. tried to walk the middle. He agreed the language needs fixing. Still came down hard on how Enes handled it.
And there's a heightened level of sensitivity that's come associated with the WNBA, and I don't blame them one bit. I want to say that. But here's the reason I don't blame them. Because what Enes Kanter did, although he had every right to do it, and although it's clearly to bring attention to the unfairness of not specifically defining what a woman is in a collective bargaining agreement, and as a result, somebody who is transgender and can wake up and say, I'm a female and I want to participate in the NBA, according to the letter of the language of the law, you can actually get away with it. And that needs to be clarified. Clearly, that's a political position to take. And I think on one hand, Enes Kanter was very wrong. It was a classless thing for him to do because the ladies that are playing don't have anything to do with this. They have nothing to do with this, and they don't deserve to be agitated. And there's a height.
So Stephen A. Smith is right about one thing. The players on the court didn't write the CBA. They shouldn't be the ones catching the heat for a leadership decision. But the bigger issue keeps getting skipped. The league's own language says women without defining what that means. And that's not by accident. You know, vague language is how institutions avoid hard decisions while still claiming moral high ground. And think about the idea that women has to be even further defined. When a rule can be stretched by self-identification alone, the people who notice that stretch aren't the ones creating the chaos. They're just the first ones willing to test it in public. Now, here's the part that should have ended the whole conversation. Enes himself offered the simplest possible solution.
How would you fix it?
How would I fix it? You know, this shouldn't be about right or left issue. This is literally about common sense. So Article 13, Section 1 says, only players who are women are eligible to play. So my question is, what is a woman?
Yes.
Give me what is a woman? Is it biological woman? Is it born female? Like, what is it? If you put a word, let's just say like biological woman, right? I will respect that decision so much. I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'm done. I have nothing to do with it because I am someone who actually follows the rules. I would not want to break any rules. So for that reason, I'm like, listen, put a little word there. Just put biological female, right? And then I'm done. I'm gone. You will never hear from me ever again. You know, that's literally all the people want. And also, people make this about right or left or whatever. It's not. Almost 80% of America are against men playing in women's sports, you know? So all these people out there who's making this like a political stunt or Enes is a right-wing grifter, it's not. You know, this is literally about just common sense.
Okay, so listen to what he actually said. He's not demanding nobody be canceled or banned. He's saying put the words biological female in a definition and he'll walk away. Simple. You know, done. Never heard from again. And I don't think that's radical. That's the bare minimum of clarity. Almost 80% of the country already agrees men should not play in women's sports. You know, the only place this is still treated like a complicated moral puzzle is inside certain media rooms and league offices. I think regular people already settled it. And Enes isn't even the only former player testing this either. Let me make sure we got the right one.
So keeping men outside of women's sports is not a political issue, it's actually common sense. It is irrefutable that there are biological differences between women and men. And the fact that the WNBA itself can't define what a woman is goes to show that they themselves create the mockery. But instead, what they're doing is acting like Enes Kanter freedom and Royce are the problem. They apparently now are not eligible to participate in the WNBA. And I think this whole thing goes to show on how much of a double standard that they actually have. They like to claim that they are for women, right? But they can't define what a woman is. They like to claim that they're even for trans kids. One of the WNBA coaches said trans kids belong after Sophie Cunningham came out and said that girls deserve to be protected in sports against boys. The WNBA has never backed her claim, but instead they stand with trans people. There is a W in the WNBA for a reason, and the fact that the WNBA cannot go and define what a woman is. Instead, they gather around a table, right? No definition given. So by their own standards, Enes Kanter Freedom and Royce White should actually qualify to play. Instead, sources are saying that the WNBA is claiming that Royce White and Enes Kanter Freedom are mocking the WNBA. That couldn't be further from the truth. Instead, they're shining a light on the fact that the WNBA is not protecting women. Women, adult, female, human, and there's even conversations of, oh, well, there's no one that is transgender identifying on the WNBA. That's not the conversation. The conversation is the WNBA should have things in place to protect women, and the fact that there is no solidified definition of what a woman is makes anybody eligible based on that standard. And I think the fact that the WNBA has not gone and said specifically to Royce White and Enes Kanter Freedom, here is the reason that you're ineligible, is pretty cowardice. These minority women deserve an answer, and they deserve to play in the WNBA.
I'm sorry, y'all, my bad. So Royce White declared for the same draft under the same vague language. The league called it a publicity stunt. But if the language in your own agreement allows it, then calling it a stunt is just an admission that you never intended the words to mean what they say. You wanted the appearance of inclusion without the responsibility of definition. That's not progress, man. That's institutional cowardice wearing progressive clothing, man. And just to bring this full circle, y'all, here's how the actual ejection played out.
Did you see Enes Kanter Freedom, who got thrown out of a WNBA game Sunday night after Chicago Sky guard Natasha Cloud walked up on him yelling and cursing in front of crowd full of kids? It happened at Wintrust Arena during a Sky Fever game. Freedom says he simply cheered a three-pointer from Fever guard Sophia Cunningham, and a few possessions later, Clyde came at him screaming that she wasn't going to sleep with him, then kept cussing him out as security had to step between them. Wow. Freedom was wearing a shirt that read, woman, noun, adult, human, female. And he thinks that shirt is really what set her off rather than the cheering. That tracks. This is a league that has spent years wrapped up in politics and identity fights. And here's a man sitting courtside, getting cursed out with children in earshot because he wore a shirt. Yeah, he wore a shirt stating a biological, unequivocal fact. Whatever you think of Freedom's politics, he didn't touch anybody. He didn't threaten anybody. He clapped for a player. A professional athlete responded with F-bombs in a public arena full of families who paid money to watch a basketball game, and he was the one who got kicked out. What's wrong with that picture? I'm Armstrong Williams.
A lot wrong with that picture. He clapped after a three-pointer, y'all. That was it. The player walked over and cursed at him in front of families, stayed on the floor. Yeah, I'm just saying, man, they just removed the man with a shirt that just defined woman. You can dislike, Enes Kanter, his methods all day long. But when the league punishes the person holding the dictionary and protects the person escalating the confrontation, it's showing you which side of the line they actually stand on. So this was never really about one player and one shirt. This was about whether a women's league still believes it has the right to protect the category it was literally built on. You know what I'm saying? When the people in charge sit there and try to treat the definition of woman like a political grenade, they tell on themselves. They would rather manage the optics than to define the purpose. Clarity is not a bad thing. It's not like cruel. Refusing clarity is how you slowly erase the thing you claim to protect. Women's sports only exist because biological reality was once considered too obvious to argue with. The moment that reality became negotiable, the league stops being a competition and starts being a statement. And statements don't need scoreboards. So the question isn't whether Enes Kanter is perfect. You know, the question is why the simplest sentence in the English language has become the one the WNBA still refuses to write down. So if you made it to the end of this video, I want you to write down the word define. You know what I'm saying? It's just getting crazy out here. And I'm going to leave y'all with 1 Corinthians 14:33. For God is not a God of confusion, but of peace. Please be safe. Go check on somebody today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Peace.